to go to the main dealer to do it, which we didn't want to have to do. So it left us with no other option. If we want to take this car to Ferrari themselves, we've got to finish the build.
Matt Armstrong has transformed wrecked supercars into viral masterpieces, earning admiration from millions and attention from some of the biggest names in business and entertainment. But when Joe Rogan reportedly brought up Armstrong during a conversation with Elon Musk, few expected the response that followed. According to growing online buzz, Musk answered with just 3 words, leaving car enthusiasts and fans of Bugatti and Ferrari stunned. So, what did he say? Why did it create such a reaction? And what does it reveal? The man who refused to let supercars die. Matt Armstrong was never meant to become a challenge for automotive giants like Bugatti and Ferrari. He wasn't a trained engineer from Silicon Valley, and he didn't come from a luxury car empire or a high-end design studio. Before YouTube, he was simply a former BMX rider whose competitive career had taken a different turn, forcing him to rethink his path in life. From that turning point, something unexpected emerged. In a small garage, he began filming himself rebuilding crashed and damaged cars, transforming wrecked machines into practical step-by-step learning journeys, and sharing every struggle, breakthrough, and surprise with a global audience watching his growth unfold. What made Matt different from so many others in the space wasn't perfection or expensive equipment, it was honesty. He didn't hide the messy parts of the process. Every mistake stayed in the video. Every moment of frustration was captured, not cut out. And when something failed, he didn't pretend it went smoothly. Instead of polished, scripted content, viewers saw something real. They watched late-night repairs, repeated breakdowns, and solutions that didn't always work the first time. It felt less like a show and more like following a real journey where success was never guaranteed. That raw and unfiltered approach slowly built something powerful. Millions of people began subscribing, not just to see luxury cars brought back to life, but to watch someone deal with problems most people would never even attempt. Each rebuild carried the same question. Would this one finally work or fall apart again? Over time, Matt Armstrong became one of the biggest automotive creators on YouTube, known for taking on projects that others would quietly walk away from. His garage became a place where wrecked supercars were not the end of the story, but the beginning of a challenge. And then came the moment that changed everything. He took on projects so complex, so expensive, and so technically advanced that even experienced experts believed they should never return to the road again. Yet instead of stepping back, he stepped further into a world where every bolt, every wire, and every decision could make or break the entire rebuild. Matt Armstrong is a YouTuber who enjoys repairing damaged vehicles on his channel, showing every detail of his progress without polishing the results. But to what extent has his journey captured the world's attention? Could one of the most influential figures in modern automotive innovation comment on his work? If so, what would that comment be? Let's find out. The question that nobody saw coming. Joe Rogan has interviewed presidents, scientists, fighters, and some of the most influential people in the world. Yet, surprisingly, another name started slipping into the conversation: Matt Armstrong, a car creator whose work nobody expected to reach that level of attention. At first, it seemed impossible. Why would a garage builder who restores crashed supercars ever be mentioned alongside Joe Rogan and even Elon Musk? Yet slowly, online discussions began to grow, and the internet started sharing something even more unexpected and surprising. According to reports spreading across online communities, Elon Musk had come across Matt Armstrong's rebuild videos, the ones where wrecked hypercars, written off as total losses, were being brought back to life inside a simple workshop. And his reaction, as claimed online, was only 3 words. This is cool. Just 3 words. Nothing more. But coming from Elon Musk, a man who has reshaped electric vehicles, space travel, and modern transportation, even a short reaction becomes something people pay attention to. Because Musk doesn't usually react to things that don't matter in the bigger picture of the industry. Matt Armstrong wasn't launching a company. He wasn't presenting new technology or competing in the hypercar market. He was simply taking wrecked, abandoned supercars, machines worth millions, and rebuilding them piece by piece in a garage most manufacturers would never associate with their vehicles. Yet somehow, those same manufacturers had already taken notice. Bugatti-level precision and Ferrari-level complexity meant tightly controlled systems, costly parts, and locked digital access at every turn. Yet Matt Armstrong kept moving forward, using patience, creativity, and relentless persistence to overcome barriers most people would consider completely impossible to break through. Without realizing it, he had stepped into a space usually reserved for elite engineering teams and global automotive giants. And now, with Joe Rogan's audience, Elon Musk's alleged reaction, and the growing attention around his rebuilds, one question started to spread across the internet. What exactly is Matt Armstrong doing that made the most powerful names in tech and automotive suddenly pay attention? Elon Musk couldn't help but acknowledge the impressive work Matt Armstrong is doing in automotive repair and rebuilds. But was it his entire journey that caught the attention of the world's richest man? Or was there a specific project the tech giant simply couldn't ignore and had to commend? If so, what project could it be? Let's uncover the interesting details. The Bugatti Chiron Sport Rebuild. When photos of a wrecked Bugatti Chiron Sport first appeared online, the reaction across the automotive world was immediate and almost final. Most people didn't even ask what happened next, because in their minds, the story had already ended before it truly began. This was not just any crashed supercar sitting in a salvage yard. It was a Bugatti Chiron Sport, one of the rarest and most advanced hypercars ever built. A machine engineered with extreme precision, extreme power, and an equally extreme price tag. Only a handful exist in the world, each one treated more like a piece of engineering art than a normal vehicle. From the outside, the damage looked devastating. The front section had taken a violent impact, leaving key structures crushed and vital systems exposed. Insurance assessments reportedly reached into the millions, and experts who examined the images openly suggested the same thing. This car was likely beyond realistic repair, not just expensive to fix, but technically too complex to bring back safely. Even seasoned professionals hesitated. In their eyes, this was the end of the road for the Chiron Sport. But Matt Armstrong saw something else entirely. Where others saw a total loss, he saw a beginning. Instead of turning away from the wreck, he decided to take it on. Not as a simple repair job, but as a full rebuild of one of the most complex machines ever created in modern automotive history. As the car was stripped down, bolt by bolt, and damaged parts were slowly revealed, the reality of the challenge became even heavier. Every layer exposed made the task more complicated, not less. Every step forward revealed something new that needed fixing. Yet, strangely, the audience only grew. Millions of viewers followed along, not just for the car itself, but for the process. Because this was no longer just about restoring a Bugatti. It had turned into something bigger. A quiet but intense battle between human determination and the limits placed on machines so advanced that even success was never meant to be guaranteed. When the Bugatti Chiron Sport was damaged, many automotive experts concluded that it could not be repaired. However, Matt attempted the rebuild anyway. But will he be applauded for his courageous effort, or discouraged and warned against such a project? If so, to what extent could he be prevented from carrying it out? Let's uncover the astonishing details. Bugatti and Ferrari drew a line in the sand. The hardest problems in these rebuilds were not always the broken carbon fiber panels, the bent frames, or the damaged engines. Those were visible issues, the kind of damage that could be seen, measured, and replaced with enough skill and time. The real obstacles were far less visible. They were the manufacturers themselves. In the Bugatti rebuild, reports suggested that access to essential parts was tightly controlled through VIN-linked systems. In simple terms, even if a part physically existed, it could not always be ordered or activated without approval tied directly to the car's identity in the manufacturer's network. This created a hidden barrier that made independent repair feel less like engineering work and more like navigating locked systems. Then came Ferrari, and the challenge shifted again. This time, it was not just about parts. It was about software, digital permissions, and internal systems that decide how the car behaves. On the surface, one of Matt Armstrong's Ferrari rebuilds looked finished. The bodywork was repaired, the mechanical issues were addressed, and everything seemed ready to go. But the car still refused to fully cooperate. Behind the scenes, electronic systems and control units were still not fully aligned without manufacturer-level validation. Even after physical repair, the vehicle could remain limited, waiting for internal approvals that independent builders could not easily access. At that point, the story stopped being just about fixing luxury cars. It turned into something much bigger and harder to ignore. A simple but uncomfortable question began to surface. When you legally buy something like a hypercar, who actually has full control over it? Is it the person who paid millions to own it? Or the company that designed it, built it, and still controls its digital systems? The Bugatti situation raised concerns about access and restrictions. The Ferrari situation pushed even deeper into software control and hidden limitations. Together, they formed a pattern that many viewers could not ignore. Without planning to, Matt Armstrong found himself at the center of a growing debate that stretched far beyond his garage walls. What started as rebuild videos had slowly become part of a larger conversation about ownership, control, and how much freedom still exists when machines are controlled by software as much as by mechanics. Rather than being given the necessary support to encourage him, Armstrong was discouraged and denied access to the resources that would make his attempted repair easier. But will he stop because of the blockage to essential tools and parts? Or will he choose to explore other options instead? And if he does, will it be successful? Now, let's uncover the rebuilds that refuse to die. From total loss to the impossible roar. Most people faced with the same situation would have walked away long before it reached its hardest stage. The damage, the cost, and the complexity alone would have been enough to stop the project completely. But Matt Armstrong didn't stop. When official routes closed off and factory solutions were no longer available, he began looking for other ways forward. If a part couldn't be bought, it had to be recreated. If something wasn't available in the market, it had to be rebuilt from scratch. Step by step, damaged components were scanned with precision tools and recreated with careful attention to detail. Parts that could not be sourced were reverse-engineered, studied, and rebuilt piece by piece. Nothing was treated as impossible, only as something that had not been solved yet. Every time progress was made, something else would go wrong. A repaired system would expose a hidden fault. A successful fix would reveal another weak point somewhere else in the car. It felt like the project was constantly moving forward and backward at the same time. But the work continued, slowly, stubbornly, and with relentless effort. Problems that once seemed overwhelming began to shrink into manageable challenges. What looked like a hopeless rebuild started turning into a sequence of small wins earned through patience and persistence. Then came the moment that changed everything. After months of uncertainty, setbacks, and long nights in the workshop, the Bugatti's legendary W16 engine finally roared back to life. For a brief moment, everything went quiet. as if even the project itself paused to acknowledge what had just happened. What was once written off as nearly impossible was now real. But it wasn't just about an engine starting again. It was about what that moment represented. A reminder that limits are often defined by hesitation more than reality. And that persistence can push past barriers that once seemed fixed. Across the internet, millions of viewers watched in disbelief. They weren't just seeing a broken hypercar being repaired anymore. They were witnessing something far bigger unfold in real time. A story of refusal, resilience, and a rebuild that slowly turned into automotive history, one problem solved at a time. Beyond bringing a seemingly irreparable car back to life, despite the challenges faced by Armstrong during the rebuild, why was Elon Musk's comment so significant to Armstrong's efforts? Was he simply a fan of his work? Or could he just not ignore Armstrong's determination? And what does his acknowledgement of Armstrong's effort mean for the automotive world? Let's find out. The significance of Elon Musk's 3 words. If Elon Musk had casually praised an ordinary car video, it would have passed almost unnoticed. The internet would have moved on within minutes, buried under new clips, new trends, and new headlines. But context changes everything. Elon Musk is not just another public figure commenting online. He built his reputation by challenging the way the entire automotive industry works. While traditional manufacturers relied on dealerships, fixed systems, and slow updates, he pushed a completely different approach. Cars that could improve through software. Direct updates are sent over the air. A system where innovation didn't wait for permission. He built companies by questioning rules that others treated as permanent. So when reports began circulating that he had allegedly reacted to Matt Armstrong's rebuild work with just 3 simple words, "This is cool," it instantly carried a different meaning for many people. On the surface, it sounds small, almost too simple to matter. But in the world these 2 figures represent, simplicity can be powerful. Because Matt Armstrong is not a traditional engineer backed by a major manufacturer, he is an independent creator working from a garage, taking on wrecked supercars that many experts would write off without a second thought. And yet, he keeps pushing forward, rebuilding machines that were never meant to return to the road. To many viewers, those 3 words were not just a casual reaction. They felt like recognition, a moment where one disruptor, known for breaking industry rules on a global scale, was acknowledging another outsider challenging limits in his own space. The simple compliment sparks a conversation, because it reframed the story. It was no longer just about repair videos or expensive car rebuilds. It became something more symbolic. A reminder that innovation does not always begin inside boardrooms or factories. Sometimes it starts in small workshops, with people who refuse to accept that impossible is the final answer. And when voices like Elon Musk are even loosely connected to that kind of effort, it adds a new layer of meaning, one that turns a simple rebuild into part of a much larger conversation about disruption, persistence, and who gets to define what can or cannot be done. Elon Musk's acknowledgement of Matt Armstrong's work is significant, especially since Musk is widely known for advocating for electric vehicles. But does this mean he is supporting Matt's bold challenge to traditional brand control that limits access to repairs and data? Or is he simply recognizing the creativity and engineering skill used to bring these damaged cars back to life? Let's uncover the details. Beyond Bugatti and Ferrari. At its core, this story was never only about Bugatti, Ferrari, or even Elon Musk. Those names may have drawn attention, but they were not the real subject. The deeper issue was something far more personal and far more important: ownership itself. Modern cars are no longer just simple machines made of metal, bolts, and fuel. They have become highly advanced systems driven by software, sensors, and tightly controlled digital networks. Every major function, from starting the engine to managing performance is now linked to internal programs that often depend on manufacturer systems and permissions. What happens when a car is physically repaired, rebuilt, and made whole again, but still cannot fully function because of digital restrictions? At that point, the damage is no longer just mechanical. It becomes structural in a completely different way, hidden inside software and control systems. And that leads to an uncomfortable question. Do you truly own something if you cannot fully control how it works after you buy it? From one point of view, companies like Bugatti and Ferrari are simply protecting what they built. Their systems are complex, expensive, and designed with strict safety and performance standards. In that sense, control is not about limitation, but about precision, reliability, and protection. But from another point of view, stories like Matt Armstrong's raise a different concern. When a car can be rebuilt physically but still refuses to fully cooperate without manufacturer approval, it starts to blur the line between ownership and dependency. It suggests a future where buying something does not always mean having full freedom over it. That tension is what made this story so powerful. The tension around rebuilding these supercars was never just about fixing damaged cars in a garage. It reflects a much bigger change happening worldwide, where technology is quietly reshaping ownership itself. Today, buying something no longer always means full control, as software and systems increasingly decide how things can be used. Perhaps that's why millions were drawn to it, not just for the drama of rebuilding expensive wrecked cars, but for the deeper questions it quietly raised about control, ownership, and how far technology should decide what people can truly do with what they buy. It raises deeper questions about control, freedom, and hidden limits. And perhaps that is why this story stays in people's minds long after the engines fall silent and the noise fades away. So, what do you think about Elon Musk's reaction? Has Matt Armstrong proven that independent creators are reshaping automotive engineering's future? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.